All right, guys, we are, again, I told you, like, I follow loosely a textbook that I have a teacher's editions for. You guys do not have a textbook, okay, so don't have to worry about that. Thanks for being late, appreciate that. All right, so we are starting chapter 6. I know it's kind of not normal. You usually start with, what, chapter 1 in a book? But we're going to start with chapter 6, which is employment basics. So talking about getting a job and what it means for a job and how you get paid in a job, all of that good stuff. I found this quote, which I thought was really good. Choose a job you love and you will never have to work a day in your life. My dad always is crazy saying some Confucius. You guys ever heard of Confucius? My dad, the famous one my dad always says is, man with one leg gets very tired in an ass-kicking contest. So my dad always says. Why, I don't know. It's a quote from Confucius. It's funny though, right? I mean, he would be tired. He's got one leg. But it's true. If you choose a job you love, you don't ever feel like you're working. Like, I never say that I'm going to work. To me, it's always I have school tomorrow. So I feel like I never grew up, right? Because I go to school every day, just like you guys do. But I don't feel like I work every day. Okay, so if you choose something you like, and hopefully you guys, you're here at Penna because you are in a job that you guys like, that you're going to go into, so you don't feel like you're at work every day. You're just doing what you love. Okay. All right, so this first section, we're looking at periodic salary. Okay, depending on if you're getting paid weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, all of that stuff, how you're getting paid. And then different abbreviations and classified ads. That part's actually pretty easy. Just some rough stats here for you guys. Different occupations versus the number of employees in this. This was based on, the most recent I could find was actually 2014, so it's a little older data, but for teachers, one of the highest occupation for number of employees, there were 7.8 million teachers in 2014 in the US. That's a lot of teachers. So you can kind of look through there, like hairdressers, we have some cos people in here. So, that's the very next highest one. Hairdressers, stylists, and cosmetologists. Chefs and cooks, any culinary? I don't think there's any culinary in here. Taxi drivers and chauffeurs. Thought that was interesting how high that one was. Firefighters. None of you guys are in here. Roofers, pharmacists, musicians, and singers. Notice that one's actually pretty low. Police and sheriff's officers. Tax preparers. Automotive servicers, and then inspectors. You can kind of see your numbers there. Inspectors, testers, sorters, samplers, weighers, that's really high. Why do you think that number is so high? What kind of jobs are those? Those are factory jobs. Do you usually have to have, a college degree or a skill or anything to work in a factory? No. So I just thought that was interesting, the number of people in each job. Also, there's 6.8 million workers called moonlighters, meaning that you hold more than one job. 6.8 million people work more than one job. That's crazy to me. Average work week is 47 hours. 50% of workers work more than 40 hours a week. That's crazy. For me, I'm salary as a teacher, whether I work just my normal here, my hours I have to be here at school, or I work, 8 hours and I get home at night. I get paid the same because I'm salary. So for me, my hours kind of vary based on what we're doing in class, whether I need to put in a lot of time grading and planning, or if I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for tomorrow, I can go home and not have to worry about school. For me, it just kind of depends. Average commute to work, 25.8 minutes. How many of you drive, takes you longer than that just to get to Penna? Is anybody longer than that? Where do you guys live? Where are you at? Swanton? Yeah, you guys are kind of the outliers. Yeah, for me, it takes me 13 minutes to get here. I live in Waterville. 13 minutes on the highway. Millennials, this is you guys. You are the largest age group in the workforce. It's kind of frightening. Much smaller percentage of teenagers work today compared to the 1970s. And about 3.7 million workers work from home. Anybody know anybody that works from home? Nobody knows somebody? Yeah. Some people are really good at working from home. Me, I think I'd get too distracted by other things if I was home working all day. All right, so when looking for employment, online or in the newspaper, I would say most anything now is online. There are still jobs posted just in your regular newspaper, though. There's just some abbreviations. I just put the list on here. They actually came from the textbook. But for you guys, just so you can kind of see, some of them to me are pretty self-explanatory. AGCY just means it's posted by an employment agency. Assistant, bilingual, computer literate. Some of these are pretty, standard. GD is good. I don't know why you need to abbreviate good. It's a pretty short word. K stands for 1,000. Hopefully you guys knew that one. Part-time, paid vacation, required. The ones that I thought were, that I thought were interesting was this one here. A $sign with M. It's the maximum pay so much per hour, which that abbreviation I don't think would have been as, like if they just said $20, you're like, what is that? That's the maximum that they would pay you per hour. Okay. So just some abbreviations. I think most of those are self-explanatory. One thing with this class is there is a lot of vocabulary. Most tests, not all, but most tests will have a first page would be vocab. So most of it's matching. So, you guys will know the definitions. You'll have a word bank that you can just do the matching part. Thank you. First thing is an employment agency. It's a business that helps people find jobs and helps employers find employees. Okay, so this is the first part of your notes that you guys actually have to write on. A business that helps people find jobs and helps employers find employees. Is it good or bad to get hired through an employment agency? I've never been through an employment agency, but I know like my brother has before. For him, it was not a good thing. Okay, the different times he had numerous jobs through an employment agency, it was never good for him. Reason being, the employment agency, they take part of your pay. So it depends on the agency, whether it's, for just a certain amount of time, if it's, like what percentage or like a dollar figure, like it just depends on the agency. But they helped you get the job, therefore they got to get paid for that somehow. So they take part of your pay for so long. The other thing, sometimes businesses, depending on where you get hired through, sometimes they only keep people from an employment agency for so long and then they let you go. So sometimes it's harder to get hired full time if you go through an employment agency. So just be aware of that. Resume, a short account of your education and qualifications for employment. Have you guys had to do resumes in English class yet? Yeah, good. One good thing, if you guys have that, keep that saved somewhere that you can always find it. Every time you guys get a different job, take the time, since you have your resume kind of started, always go back and update that. Otherwise, when you go to get a job and you're like, and they ask for previous employment, and then you're like, oh my gosh, when did I start working there? What month was it? What year was it? How long did I work there? If you just constantly, every time you get a different job, just change that, update it, take 5 minutes to do that, you're gonna be better off. Because I know, like, I didn't do that, and then like when I got my first teaching job, like when I applied for it, they wanted all my previous work history, and then I'm like, okay, I've had like 3 different jobs. I had to like really stop and think and guess on like when I worked at each job. But if you just kind of keep up with that, since you guys already have one started, that would be great. All right, and then W-4s. Once you're hired somewhere, you fill out a W-4. It's used by your employers for tax purposes. This is usually like where you say like, I'm going to claim 0, I'm going to claim 1. How you fill that out depends on how much taxes they take out from each of your paychecks for federal taxes. Some people always, the more you claim, I'm married, I have 3 kids, so technically I could claim 5 because there's 5 in my family. I claim 0. Reason being, the more you claim, the more or the less money they take out, which is like, great, I got more money, that's better. But then come tax time, you might end up owing the government taxes. So for me, I claim 0. They take out, whatever they take more from my paycheck. But I'm guaranteed I will not have to pay into taxes, come tax time. And I get a bigger return, right? I like that nice tax return. I have a friend who plays around with that farm every single year. He has 4 kids, married, and he will play the game so that when it comes tax time, he like breaks even. For him, he's like, I want as much money as I can have now and just kind of break even on the end. So it's kind of your preference. I kind of like the tax refund check because it's easier than saving myself, right? They send that back to me. Okay, so how many in a year? So we use a lot of, these are, in essence, vocab words, but we use these terms all the time, all semester long. So if something occurs annually, how many times a year does it happen? Just once. Okay, so you're going to have to know these terms. like the back of your hand, okay? You're gonna have to know them. As soon as you read them, you know exactly how many times it is. What if it's semi-annual? That's twice. Victoria's Secret semi-annual sale always comes to mind when I read that one, right? It's twice a year. Come on, some of you know that, right? It's a twice a year sale. What about monthly? That's 12. It's 12 months in the year. Semi-monthly. That is 24. Very nice. And that is how I get paid. I'm semi-monthly, which means I get paid twice a month. How many months are there? 12 times 2, there's 24 pays. So I get paid twice a month. All right, what about weekly? How many weeks are in a year? Thank you for knowing that. I remember last semester, my FSD class did not know that. It was kind of frightening. Bi-weekly, if you're paid every other week, it's 26. Since there's 52 weeks, divide that by 2, it's 26 pays a year. I'm going to guess most of you that have jobs probably are paid bi-weekly. That'd be my guess. Or some of you might be weekly. What about quarterly? How many quarters are in a year? There's 4. Think about how many quarters are in a dollar. There's 4 of them. And then daily? Thank you. You knew how many days were in a year. Yeah, 365. What about on a leap year? 366. Yeah. That's when you have February 29th. It was on a leap year. All right, but you definitely need to know the list, okay? Probably the most often missed would be semi-monthly and bi-weekly. People flip-flop those, okay? Just think twice a month, there's 12 months times 2, it's 24. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some examples of all this. Julianne found a job listed in the classified ads that pays a yearly salary of $41K. What's that mean? $41,000. She makes $41,000 a year. What is the weekly salary based on the annual salary? So if they give you how much she makes per year, can you figure out how much she gets per week? What would you have to do? Divide by 52. Yeah. So you're going to do 41,000. Divide that by 52. If you do not have a calculator on you right now, go grab one. Okay. Remember, you have numbers. You can use the ones in the back, or there is some regular ones up here. $41,000 divided by 52. How much is her salary per week? $788. Now we need to practice our rounding skills, because when we're talking money, how many decimal points do we want? You want 2. It'd be 46 cents. All right, I'm gonna let you guys know now, on every assignment, if you round incorrectly, I take a point off. What are your rounding rules? If the next digit is what? 5 or higher, you round up. And it's only the very next digit after what you're looking at, okay? Don't go like 6 digits down and keep rounding all the way back up. Don't do that. Okay, just the one right afterwards. All right, number 2, Karen found a job with an annual salary of $67.3K. What is her monthly pay rounded to the nearest dollar? 67.3K, what is that? Good, it is 67,300. Again, this is one of those things, some people can look at that and know exactly what it means. If you're not sure, what does K stand for? 1,000. So you would just multiply 67.3 times 1,000 if you're not sure. Okay? So this would be 67.3 times 1,000. That's where we're getting the 67,300. All right? And it wants to know her monthly. How many is in a month? That'd be divided by how many? Wait, what's my number I'm dividing by? It's 12. I heard someone say 24. Monthly, there are 12 months in a year. All right, so divide that by 12. So monthly should be $5,608.33. Is that how much money she actually brings home? No. What's that term called for that kind of pay? Gross. Good, that's your gross pay. What's it called, what you actually bring home? Net. And we'll talk all about that, taxes and how we figure out how much comes out, and we'll talk about all that stuff. All right, number 3. Dylan took an applicant-paid job through an employment agency. The job pays $395 per week. Dylan must pay a fee to the employment agency. The fee is 20% of his first 4 weeks' pay. How much money must Dylan pay the agency? Okay, so right there is another kind of example of you do have to pay an employment agency. It's how they make money. It's how they survive. Okay, so what should we do first? You got options here. Yeah, what do you think? Good. That'd be one option. So he wants to multiply 395 times 4, since this said the first 4 weeks of his pay, right? Okay. All right, so here, we'll go one option, then we'll talk what the other option is, okay? So this is how much pay, this is his pay for 4 weeks. Okay, so that's how much he makes. But is that how much the employment agency gets paid? No. What do I have to do with that to figure out the employment agency? Good. Multiply that by 20%. 20% is what as a decimal? It'd be 0.2. Or 0.20 for those of you who like to see the 20 still on there. Okay. So how much does he owe the employment agency? Good. $316. That's how much he has to pay them. The other option that you could have done is you could have multiplied 395 times 20%. That would have been how much for the first week, and then multiply that answer by 4. So you could have went either way. All right, but do you see why an employment agency, if you can get hired directly, is a better option than using them? Right, you're going to lose money if you have to go through an employment agency. All right, number 4. Ken is a mechanic who owns Ace Auto Repair. He needs a foreign car expert and is placing a 12-line ad on JobsRUs.com. The cost of an ad, X lines long, so it could be how many lines you want it, is given by the following piecewise function. Okay, that's called a piecewise function. It just means it has a couple pieces to it. That's all that means. Find the cost of the 12-line ad. So they told you over here that X stands for how many lines long it is. Okay? So if I'm looking over here, this is X. So if I have less than or equal to 4 lines, it's going to cost me $56. Just my straight up cost. If X, the number of lines, is greater than 4, I have to use this little equation, plug my number in, and see how much. Does that make sense? You just got to look, which piece do you fit into? That's all that stands for. So if I have a 12-line ad, do I fit into the top or the bottom? The bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to fill it in here. So 56 plus 6 times, what's the X value then? It's 12 minus 4. So we're just going to type that straight in the calculator just the way it is, and it will let us know how much it's going to cost. Yeah, $104. Yeah, it seems really expensive. Seems real pricey. How are we doing? Piecewise function. They look a little intimidating to first look at them, but really it just means which piece does your info fall in. That's all it stands for. Okay, questions there? You guys doing all right? Number 5, Roger is a graphic artist, so his resume is several pages long and includes an artistic portfolio. His prospective employers want hard copies of his resume, so he wants to have 400 copies of his resume printed. That seems a bit much, don't you think? I mean, are you really going to apply at 400 places? But anyway, it's what he wants. His local print shop charges $91.50 for the first 200 copies and $42 for every 100 additional copies. How much will the 400 copies cost, including a sales tax of 6%? That's a lot. I don't know. But, so what do you want? So we're going to figure out how much it's going to cost him. All right, so do you see how we kind of got a couple parts to this, right? Because they said it's going to be $91.50 for the first 200 copies. Okay, so 200 copies. That's going to cost us $91.50. But he wanted more than 200, right? Wanted 400. So It says $42 for every 100 additional. So for 100 copies, that's going to be $42. Do I need more than just 100 more? Yeah, I need another 100, right? So it's another $42. Does that cover all of my copies? Yeah, right? 200, 300, 400. So I have my 400 copies, so I got that covered. How much is it costing me for my 400 copies? You can tell who my overachievers are who are working ahead today. Totally fun. All right, so $175.50 is just the cost of the copies. Now, for those of you who aren't as fast as some of the others, tax. What's 6% as a decimal? 0.6? 0.06. Whew, 0.6 is 60%. What operation do we do to find tax? You multiply. So you are going to learn from me. I am a very lazy mathematician. Very lazy. If I can do things in less steps, I'm going to. Okay? So instead of just multiplying by 0.06, because that'll give me my tax, and then I have to add that back on, right? If you multiply by 1.06, the 1 includes this in your total. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. Okay? So if I multiply by 1.06, I get 186.03. The 1 in front includes the number you're multiplying by when you're kind of totaling this. It kind of adds it all together at the same time. Because otherwise, if you just did 175.50 times 0.06 times 0.06, yeah, that's going to give you 1053, which is your tax, and then you had to add that to your total, and you still get the same thing. But it took me 2 steps up there. If I multiply by 1.06, I can do it in 1 step. All right? You learned a little trick today. I'm lazy. If I can do it in less, I'm going to do it less. Okay? Mathematicians are lazy. All right. We okay with tax? Good there? We're flying, guys. Number 6. An online job search site charges employers fees to post job listings. Their price list is shown in the table. The prices per posting decrease as the number of postings increase. So the more you post, they cut you a break and you can get charged less. What is the percent savings if an employer decides to post 4 jobs? All right, so we have this big red box around this. If you have a highlighter, highlight it, star it, whatever. This formula shows up a lot. Haley, do you remember this showing up in numerous chapters? Like new minus old, this is how we also talk about it. It's the same idea, the same formula. But anytime we're talking about percent savings or a percent increase or decrease, knowing percentage-wise how something changed, this is the formula we always come back to, okay? This is a formula that you need to know. I will not give this to you on a test, but it's one that we use a lot, so you get familiar with it. It kind of becomes second nature. All right, so percent discount, all we have to do is take the original price minus the discount or the cheaper price, divide that by the original, multiply by 100, and it will give me the percent change, how much it's changed. So it wants to know about 4 jobs. Okay, so when it's asking for original, is that the price down here at 4, or is original like the price at 1? At 1, right? Originally, they would charge you $3.95 each. Okay, so that's your original, is the $3.95. Minus, since I'm doing 4, I get a discount. How much is it if I do 4 of them? Yeah, 4 of them is going to only be $350 each. So that's the discount price, divided by original. Again, that original was $3.95. And then we multiply that by 100, and it's going to give us our percent savings. Now, those of you who are calculator-dependent people, If you type this in wrong, you're going to get a wrong answer, okay? What you want to do first is type in the top. So we'll do the 395 minus 350. You have to hit equals, then divide that by 395. Hit equals, and then multiply by 100. Hit equals. Okay, so after every step, make sure you're equaling that. Otherwise, you're going to get a different answer. So what is the percent savings? What'd you guys get? Now it's percent, so we're not talking dollars. So let's go to the nearest tenth. So it would be 11.4%. Okay. Yeah, that's always going to give you a percentage, that formula. Okay, and again, that formula is used a lot all semester long. So make sure you make note of that. You will have to know that formula. Okay, the original minus the discount. All right, we good? So next we're going to look at calculating time. This week we're going to talk about time cards and being able, like if I clocked in here, clocked out for lunch, clocked back in, and then I finished the day. I found a lot of students struggle figuring out how much time has actually passed. People struggle with time. All right, so we're just going to get a little bit of practice with that today. So number one, the time is 3 o'clock. What time will it be in 1 hour? 4 o'clock. Okay, some of these obviously are very simple. So 4 o'clock. The time is 4:30. What time was it 45 minutes ago? Good, 3:45. Now, real quick, let's talk, because I know some of you are like, this is the easiest thing I've ever done, and some of you are like, how did they figure that out, right? So we need to kind of talk for a minute. When you look at a clock, I don't know about you guys, but I use the clock a lot when I do mental math. Okay, the clock is based in how many minutes? 60. How much is a quarter of an hour? 15. Yeah. A fourth of 60 is 15. So like from 12 to the 3, that's 15 minutes, right? But hold on, let's talk. Seriously, I have students who struggle with this all the time. I want to make sure we're okay. Think about a clock divided into quarters, right? Fourths, 4 pieces. All right, so each of these chunks is 15 minutes. Now, right now, some of you are probably annoyed that I'm even talking about this, but I have other students who have no idea how time is. That's the second hand. All right, because seriously, if you understand the clock is broken into like 4 pieces, it's a lot easier to do this in your head. It really is. I just want to make sure we're aware of that. All right, so like if I'm thinking of 4:30, I'm pointing down like 30, and I'm like, okay, 45 minutes ago, like I'm backing up 15, 30, 45 minutes. I'm doing it in chunks. 45 is 3 quarters. So I can visually in my head kind of see where that hand is going. To me, that's the easiest. If you have another option, that's fine, whatever works for you, but to me, that's the easiest option. All right, how much time passes between 8 and 11:45? Okay, it's easy when it starts on a nice even one, right? So 3 hours, 45 minutes. The time is 7:30. What time will it be in 1 hour and 45 minutes? Bedtime? You want me to just write that, bedtime? All right. But okay, 1 hour from 7:30, another hour is 8:30, and then 45 minutes. So I'm at 8:30. That's 9. It's 15 minutes, and another quarter. It's going to be 9:15. Whoa. All right, number 5. How much time passes between 7:45 and 11:15? Neil's really good at time. All right, but when you're like counting time from one to the next, or you're like 7:45, 8:45, 9:45, 10:45. So 10:45 to 11:15 is another 30 minutes. So it's 3 hours and 30 minutes. All right, time is 11:30. What time will it be in 2 1/4 hours? How long is 2 1/4 hours? 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I need to make sure I'm looking at 2 hours, 15 minutes. That's what that means. Good. But you're going like 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, and then another 15 minutes. Oops, 12. I can't even write here. 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, and then another 15 minutes is 1:45. How much time is there between 7:15 and 10:45? So again, counting 7:15, 8:15, 9:15, 10:15. So I know there's 3 hours. And then from 15 to 45 is another 30 minutes. So 3 hours and 30 minutes. How much time is there between 11:25 and 4:30? So 11:25, 12:25, 1:25, 2:25, 3:25, 4:25. So about 5 hours. And then from 25 to 30 is another 5 minutes. And again, I can see some of you right away, you get it. Like you can do that, like no big deal. And others are like, I don't know how to count time. Okay, that's why I do this, though. I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. The time is 2:45. What time is that? That's 2:45. 2:45, 15 minutes before 3. What time was it 3 3/4 hours ago? What's 3 3/4 hours? That's 3 hours and 45 minutes. So I'm backing that up then. So I have to, from 2, if I back up 3 hours, where am I at? 11. 2, 1, 12, 11. So 3 hours ago was 11. And then I take another 45 minutes from this. So it's 11 o'clock exactly. All right, but if it says like 1/4 till, 3/4, or you need, like, stop and write down what that means, okay, and go from there.